Welcome back to our third session of Art as Therapy. I'm Yoko. In the second session, we learned about art appreciation and how to create art from found objects. Today, we'll be exploring the psychological and emotional effects of creating art. Apart from practical reasons such as making a functional piece of art like a vase, what are some emotional appeals that make us want or need to make art? There are many reasons why we create art. One of the most important reasons is that we can use art as a tool to lead better lives and become better versions of ourselves. In areas of psychological or emotional functions of art making, I would like to highlight these 8 functions. So, first, freedom from judgment. Humans are conditioned to behave in certain manners, to fit in, to be seen in a certain way based on societal norms, labels, or values. Because judgment is a human condition, we want to free ourselves from it. We want more than to follow these norms or be judged. In art, we can free ourselves from these labels and express the reality and truth for ourselves. Secondly, self-expression. Before we can be seen, we have to see ourselves, how we feel and who we are, our true self. A Swiss psychoanalyst Carl Jung says that the self appears as a united duality, in which the opposites are united. What does it mean? We know that life does not come only with the good, but the bad as well. We have strengths and weaknesses, beauty and flaws. We have our light and dark sides. But some experiences or feelings are hard to communicate with words. Art making helps us to express the unspeakable and to give form to it. When an image is created, it is out there for us to make sense of it and decide how we are going to deal with it or reimagine it. Thirdly, emotional release. One of the purposes of artistic expression is to create or evoke an emotional experience. A famous philosopher, Aristotle, said that the purpose of art is catharsis. If looking at or making an art leads to an outburst of emotions, it has done its job. When we make art, we can release or discharge our emotions. For instance, we can transfer our emotions onto a canvas or by acting on a medium such as clay. Creating art also helps us to recognize the existence of sorrow, pain, and suffering as parts of life. Fourthly, appreciation. Art honors the real value of our ordinary life, things, experiences, or relationships that are easily missed out, neglected, or taken for granted. When we make art, we source for inspiration, and inspirations are everywhere in our surroundings. Art making helps us to reconnect and recover our sensitivity towards the things around us. The art making process helps us to realize the beauty of imperfection, the ordinary, and the mundane. It also helps to cultivate a sense of gratitude towards self and others. Fifth, remembering. Art helps to make our experience more memorable. Making art helps to retain memories and our insights, preserving them for future access. 6. Balance. Art making process can bring clarity and awareness of our good qualities, such as strength, creativity, and problem-solving skills. Such discovery helps to rebalance our natures, the good and the bad, and redirect us towards our best versions or possibilities. 7. Growth. Art is a representation of our worldviews and the notion of ourselves. The engagement in art making involves negotiation, curiosity, questioning, criticism, and making changes to these worldviews and perceptions. From time to time, the development of this artistic practice helps to accumulate these experiences of engagement and extend into growth or enrichment in ourselves and our perceptions of the world. 8. Imagination. The use of art for imagination is perhaps the easiest to understand, yet it has the most profound impact on our lives. There is a saying, only with imagination we can have hope, and when there is no hope, we can create it with art. Because art has no rules and no limits, we can express both the real and the imagined. It helps us to access positivity, pleasure, joy, and endless possibilities, which brings hope to our lives. Many studies have shown that creating art can help in mood regulation and stress release. Through the art-making process, we can attend to and release our negative emotions. When we say that the image or art-making process can act as a container, we mean that the created image, the artwork or object, or the art-making process has the capacity to receive projections from the art maker. Today, let us explore creating a three-dimensional container using some home-based materials. Today, we are going to make our own clay. For the ingredients, right? One important thing is the ratio between the flour, salt, and water. So 2 portions of flour, we will add 1 portion of salt and 1 portion of water. So this is not like a magical formula. You can always change it a little and modify to suit the strength and the rigidity of your clay dough. So I'm going to use this measuring cup to pour 2 cups of this flour. So about 300. I'll pour it into my mixing bowl. So I will take another cup of flour. So I take another 300 grams. So put it in the mixing bowl. The purpose of adding salt is because salt is a good preservative. It can slow down the drying process of your clay. It can also preserve your clay work, the final artwork, for a longer period of time. You can also reduce it as you like. So I'm adding like 1 portion of salt. So I'll pour it into the mixing bowl. And then 1 portion of water. And you can slowly pour it in. It's always good to remain some of the flour. So in case this mixture is too wet for you, you can add back a little bit of flour to make it drier. And similarly, if it's too dry, you can add a little bit of water slowly. Then you can wet it a little bit. I'll just use my hand. So it's really like making the dough for baking. Some people call this a clay dough. So when you feel that the dough is no longer touching or sticking to your hands, you may feel that the dough also has its own elasticity. This is the right texture that you can take out and make your three-dimensional artwork. I prepared a board so that after I create all the artwork, I can easily transport my artwork with the board. So first, when the dough is out from the mixing bowl, you can play around with it, sense the texture of it, and you can also slow down. Think about this emotional container or the container you are to contain emotions. What kind of form does it take? What kind of shape or strength does it take? When you have the idea, you can start to form that shape. Today I'm going to share with you 2 basic techniques to make a container similar to what we are doing with typically clay work. So the first technique is called coiling. We use coiling to make a container so that we don't need to worry about the height of the container. It is a method that you can continue the coiling so that you can build the height of the container. Okay, so now I'm going to show you what is coiling. So first of all, you think of the size of the base of your container. For this type of dough, is because it is quite soft, it's better to have the base bigger than the opening, the top. Okay, so in clay work, because clay may have its strength, so we can have a bigger opening like this. The base is smaller than the top part. But for this dough, it may be good to think of the base, which is not too much smaller than the top part. Let's imagine this is the base, the size of the container that I'm going to create, almost the size of my palm. This is your base, so you can put it down. Because this is the base, you can have a slightly thicker base. Coiling means you are going to make strips like coils. So you are going to roll your clay dough into strips, like cylindrical strips. This one may take a little longer, and now the clay is still very elastic, so it may contract a little bit. After you have the thickness of these strips, you're going to build the wall of this container. You follow, and as you go along, you can stretch a little bit if it's too thick, so you provide a little bit of pressure, and then this is one layer. So you continue to create more coils to build that height of the container that you want. While you are building it up, you can always adjust and shape it. If you don't like to see these coils, you can actually use your finger to join these lines together. You can continue to build your container with coiling method and then make it taller. I'll put it aside first, just be careful. And then the other method I'm going to share with you is like this. You take out a portion of this clay dough and then you roll it or you knead it into a ball. While you are kneading it and holding it in your hands, you can also feel the dough. You are going to create a hollow space by slowly taking out into this volume, pressing the edges and build it up. While you are pressing the clay dough up, you are also pushing the clay out nearer to the base. So this method is a bit more organic because you are following the clay, the weight and the form of it, and then you are creating a space inside this volume. So something like that. This is how you can make a little container with home-based materials with the flour, the salt and water. I have also some examples here. It's like a small containers that is made of the same method, and it is now half dry. So you can see that the edges will dry up first, and then the center part, and also the base. Because after it is dry like halfway, put it upside down so that the base can also dry up. So this one, I have added in some dry leaves. You can feel free to be creative. While you're mixing the clay dough, you can also add some natural ingredients. And the method to dry this clay is very simple. You can just leave it in the sun or air dry it. So today we have explored how to make a three-dimensional container using home-based materials. We have come to the end of today's session. To summarize, we have explored the psychological and emotional effects of making or creating art, and how the art-making process contains our emotions. We have also learned some techniques to create a three-dimensional container using home-based materials. Some of the contents of this session was inspired by the book Art as Therapy, written by John Armstrong and Ellen de Botton. If you would like to explore more, you can take a look at this book. I hope you have enjoyed the session. Have fun creating from home. See you next time.